Good evening, Dungeon Masters, I'm Baron Darab. So your players clear a dungeon, assassinate a goblin chieftain, and load up with all the loot. The next most obvious step is to take all this appropriated stuff back to town and offload it for cash. If video games were our mentor, DMs would roleplay having a hypothetical sister they'd
Sell her in a second.
crack open the player's handbook and just swap the gear for the listed gold price. But there can and should be a lot more to running a salesperson NPC. Today we'll discuss how to roleplay an effective salesman, how salesmen historically fit into the Dark Age and Middle Age society, and even outline some quest hooks which can emerge from the shopkeeper experience. So, let's get into it. If you don't have a retail or sales background, it can be hard to deal with gold-hungry players who want to negotiate for obscene discounts, try to purchase goods on credit, or completely clear a storefront of its available cash. While I recommend watching a few videos from the YouTube channel The Future to get into an entrepreneurial mindset, here are some sales takeaways that will help you navigate your cash-savvy players. It's almost never in the salesperson's interest to give a discount. A discount cuts into a salesperson's bottom line, and thus their ability to provide for their family. Our modern seasonal sales cycle has tricked us into believing that we all deserve discounts, but since these slash rates happen seasonally, we've just trained ourselves to wait until the right time of the year to shop. As a result, it's these seasonal sales prices which have become the de facto. Therefore, purchasing the same goods during a shoulder season is really just paying an elevated price to cover the convenience of year-round shopping. So if your players ask for a discount outside of the scope of polite haggling, an appropriate response is to ask the players why they need the discount to start with, or what the player characters intend to do with the reduced rate goods. A good salesperson will thus reframe the conversation and use that information for an upsell. If the players say they plan on delving a tomb and claim they need some rope, the shopkeep should ask if they need pythons, torches, caltrops, a chest, and a padlock. The add-ons are endless. Additionally, if a group of players are haggling over a silk rope and the salesperson realizes they're talking to adventurers, there are a few ways the shopkeepers might clap back. Ask the players how much gold they stand to exhume from the next tomb raid if they both have and don't have the rope. A shrewd salesperson will illustrate that without the rope, the party's efforts will be far less lucrative, so they should just pay the full price. Another response might be to offer a contract with the players, giving them all the rope they need for free, but taking 10% of the value of their next dungeon delve. If the players express disinterest in such a deal, the shopkeeper can just insist the party pay fair price as originally asked. Lastly, we should mentally reframe what charisma checks to shift a shopkeeper's attitude really represents. Salespeople have an alliance to their bottom line and to their loved ones. The smiles and greetings offered to a party when they belly up to a trade cart are part of the shtick, but this doesn't mean the merchant is friendly. If anything, they would be suspicious of the party. The guy with the thieves' tools may steal something, the lady with the fancy headband seems way too observant of what's in storage, and the tall naked guy in the back with the axe looks like he's just waiting for a reason to smash his cart. As a result, the merchant has little reason to trust the players, and that's why their caravans usually have hired guards to begin with. For some historical context, it's helpful to keep in mind that overland trade between middle-aged communities was expensive to conduct, so traveling merchants usually focused on high-value commodities like silks, pigments, and spices, or luxury value-added products like artwork, jewelry, or fashion. Traveling merchants who sold products outside of this luxury scope were usually thought of as fences for stolen items. It seldom made economic sense for traveling merchants to sell manufactured products which could be locally made, like farming equipment or cooking implements. However, a lucrative, if not immoral, way to turn profit was to accept stolen goods from thieves at a gouging rate and then sell those goods below fair market value in the next town over. While this practice wasn't widespread, the few bad apples who did this led to racist anti-brokerage laws across Middle-Age Europe, specifically targeting Lombardy, Jewish, and Romani traders. Therefore, your shopkeeper NPCs may need to consider this as player characters try to offload any amassed wealth from their recent delving. A typical shopkeeper in a small village has little ability to move products beyond what their general store typically provides. Since their customer base will be unable to afford a gilded statuette, there's no reason for the shopkeeper to invest in it. Moreover, just having the figurine in their shop will attract thieves and likely brand their operation as a fence. In turn, this invites unwanted scrutiny from the local government. Therefore, players would need to take the treasure to a city with a large enough population to attract foreign traders. Moreover, because the cost of doing foreign trade is so high, traders experienced with curiosities exhumed from dungeons will likely only offer between 1/20th and 1/10th of the retail price. Ironically, stationary shopkeepers who pay roofing fees or protection to a thieves guild do get benefits from their illegal relationship, even if not paying those fees risks their shop to vandalism. PCs who bring a sack full of gemstones to some merchants and aggressively demand more than it's worth might invoke a thief stealing from the PCs later in the night. By the time the players realize the bag of gems is gone, the thief is already in the next town, and the gems have already been sold at a slash rate to another merchant. Other traders will hear stories and descriptions of these foolish adventurers, and so the PCs will become targets of unsavory business practices in proportion to the unsavory behavior they exhibited. It'd be a real shame to have an important quest item stolen just because the party rudely demanded a discount on some rope. In closing, transactions with merchants can have ripple effects on the world surrounding the PCs, and the goods they offload from their adventures don't just deallocate from memory once they leave the shop. Remember that shopkeepers have their own interests to look out for, and will likely be apprehensive to trade goods and treasure unless they have a means to move the product quickly for a profit. Keep these things in mind as your party wanders around town with wheelbarrows full of treasure, mindless to the risks therein. Until next time, Dungeon Masters, good night.